Do you want to know how I know the book of Enoch is scripture? Well, our Messiah calls it such. In the book of Matthew, chapter 22, the Sadducees are challenging our Messiah, saying there's no resurrection. Our Messiah rebukes and corrects them using the book of Enoch.
I'm going to stop you right there because Jesus does not say Enoch is scripture. When Jesus quoted from the scriptures, he usually quoted it directly and opened with a phrase like, "It is written," or "Have you not read?" There are numerous examples of this in the Gospels, but when we go to Matthew 22 and compare it with 1 Enoch 15, we can see this is not a direct quote from the book of Enoch.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Okay, so Michael Jones thinks he can reject the book of 1 Enoch because he thinks that Matthew 22, 29 through 30 is not a direct quote from 1 Enoch. But if a simple direct quote will be all that he needs to accept it, then Jude verse 15 should convince him. It was also about these that Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied, saying, "Behold, thy Lord comes with 10,000s of his holy ones, to execute judgment on all, and to convict all the ungodly, of all their deeds of ungodliness that they have committed in such an ungodly way, and of all the harsh things that ungodly sinners have spoken against him." Given the obvious similarities, and the undeniable fact that 1 Enoch predates Jude, it is impossible to deny that Jude was familiar with 1 Enoch and used it for inspiration. This puzzled the Church Fathers, as seen in their commentaries on Jude, which can be found in Volume 11 of the book Ancient Christian Commentary on Scripture. Augustine seemed convinced that 1 Enoch was canonical, though he admitted that it was never accepted by Jews or Christians. But he explains that away as apprehension due to the extreme antiquity of the book. The Venerable Bede identified 1 Enoch as an apocryphal book, but noted that many in the church did not want to include Jude in the canon because he quoted from an apocryphal book. But notice also Bede's double standards. He assumed that Jude was written by a disciple of Jesus, and then also assumed that the passage Jude quoted must not have been apocryphal or dubious. If only it were that easy. As for Jones's claim that Matthew 22, 29 through 30 is not a direct quote of 1 Enoch 15, 6 through 7, that in itself does not prove that the author was not using 1 Enoch as a source, or any other book that contained a similar teaching, such as 2nd Baruch. As Lee MacDonald explains in his book, The Formation of the Biblical Canon, the similarity here is in the thought that angels do not marry, and neither do those who go from this life to the next. Indeed, we will be hard-pressed to find this teaching anywhere in the canonical Bible. So where did it come from? Plus, there are other parallels between the Gospels and 1 Enoch, which make it difficult to dismiss the influence the latter had on the former. For example, MacDonald observes similarities between Luke 16:26 and 1 Enoch 22:8 through 10. Notice how in Luke, the rich man asks for some water from Abraham, to which the patriarch responds that the great chasm between them is fixed and cannot be crossed. This mirrors the idea in 1 Enoch 22. We can also compare Matthew 26:24, where Jesus specifically says that it is written.
When Jesus quoted from the scriptures, he usually quoted it directly and opened with a phrase like, "It is written," or "Have you not read?" If he was quoting from Enoch, he would have quoted it directly and said, "Have you not read?"
That it would have been better for those who betray the Son of Man that they had not been born. To 1 Enoch 38:2, which pretty much says the same thing.
Should Christians follow the Book of Enoch?
No, because it contains heresy.
But I'm going to give you some reasons why I personally like the Book of Enoch. First off, the Book of Enoch prophesies Jesus.
No, it does not, because later in 1 Enoch 71, it explicitly says Enoch himself is the Messiah. And the head of days came with Michael and Raphael and Gabriel and Phanuel and thousands and tens of thousands of angels without number. And he came to me and greeted me with his voice and said to me, "You are that Son of Man, who was born for righteousness, and righteousness dwells on you, and the righteousness of the head of days will not forsake you." So Enoch does not prophesy of the coming of Jesus. It prophesies that Enoch himself will return and be the Messiah.
Here, Jones has simply failed to dig deeper. Yes, 1 Enoch 71 does indicate that Enoch is the Son of Man, which may indicate his status as the Messiah. However, Jones failed to look into the scholarly literature. Michael Knibb observes that while the rest of the book of 1 Enoch, specifically chapters 37 through 69, show that a clear distinction is made between Enoch and the Son of Man, and the fact that chapters 70 through 71 come as something of a surprise points strongly to the view that chapters 70 through 71 are a secondary addition to the Book of Parables.
There's also no reason to think Enoch himself wrote the Book of Enoch. It's a pseudepigrapha work.
This is an ironic comment by Jones. It's true, of course, that we have no reason to assume that Enoch actually wrote 1 Enoch. In fact, it is certain that he did not. But then, we also have no reason to accept Jewish and Christian tradition as it pertains to the Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch, or Christian tradition that the disciple Matthew wrote the Gospel of Matthew, or the disciple John wrote the Gospel of John. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.